Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have listened carefully to the Honourable Minister, and he has made several references to a high-powered committee, where there was representation of each and every those concerned with the artist. But unfortunately, this high-powered committee report has not been made public. And it is not true to say that all the recommendations of the high-powered committee is in that amendment bill. Not all the recommendations. I have had the opportunity to consult members of the high-powered committee. Not only not all recommendations are not in that bill, but there are things in that bill which was not recommended by the high-powered committee. And if the Honourable Minister wants to be, oh my God.
Order, please. Order. Honourable Baloomoody, please continue. Please continue. Honourable Baloomoody, please continue.
In fact, it is an insult to the artist to have that gentleman walk in when we are debating such an important debate. Yes, what I was saying, that not all the recommendations of the high-powered committee are in that bill. And what is worse, we have in that bill clauses which was not recommended by the high-powered committee. Madam Speaker, before I come to the bill, let's look at the MMM stand. At the MMM stand when the bill was debated in the House on the 1st of April, what it did, 2014. And it's true that the then Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Paul Béranger, took the floor. We welcome the bill, but we have certain reserves, especially with the elected members on the board and other issues regarding its administration. The amended bill, the bill then did not satisfy our requirement. And we raised a certain issue, which today in that bill are being addressed to, and some which are being addressed but in a different direction. Let us take the one, we are going back to the name of Maza. In fact, during the debate, one of our members, Honourable Radigon, at that time, did put the question, are we doing the right thing? Have we consulted la Confédération Internationale des Sociétés Européennes et Compositeurs, CISAC? She was aware, we were aware of the danger. But unfortunately, this was not replied by the then minister. And today, after 4 years, where we have not been able to sign any bilateral agreement, we have not been recognized by CISAC, we have lost hundreds of thousands of royalties, we are coming to correct, going back to the Maza. Because at that time, as the Right Honourable Leader of the Opposition say, at that time, we don't throw away the bath and the baby, the water, the baby. And this is what we did. But again, I will come to the Honourable Minister later. When I come to the composition of the board, the Honourable Minister then did have an opportunity to address the House on the issue. And his approach was according then to the international trend, which is still today. That is, we should have an association of artists, which will start while still having the support of government, and in the end, to be merely a private concern. This is what the Honourable Minister, now Honourable Minister, said when he was in the opposition. I quote, "We have the Copyright Bill of 1985, if I'm not mistaken, where Maza was set up for the first time, and the idea was to create an organization which ultimately would become private, and for certain government officials were going to accompany those artists, but having in mind to make this organization a merely private concern. And this is how it is in most of the countries, be it in France, be it in UK. It's the artists themselves who manage with the association, appoint their members, appoint professional members on the board, and agreed amongst themselves how to distribute the revenue. Because they are all artists, it is easy for them to get on together, to come to a solution. And we have just heard the Honorable Minister say that money has not been able to distribute because there have been disputes on the board. Because of the composition of the board, which I will come to later. So we are here again today with an amendment which does not satisfy the requirement of not only the artists, but also the requirement of the international institution. Madam Speaker, having said that as an introduction, let me come to the bill itself. Let's look at the objective of the bill. The objective, okay, we don't have any problem with the objective A, make better provision regarding phonogram, increase the length of the duration of copyright to 70 years now, which is the international norm, make better provision regarding the payment of equitable remuneration. This is dealt with in Section 8 of the bill. But I've listened to the Honorable Minister. How are we going to make better distribution, equitable distribution of the remuneration to the artists? The Honorable Minister has not said anything. And when it comes to the issue of where a reproduction concerns an audiovisual work or a work embodied in a sound recording other than the reproduction of a single copy of an individual. So we are referring to what? What we are referring to? When we speak about the introduction of other equipment, are we referring to mobile phone? I understand the committee came with a proposition that we are going to put a levy now on mobile phone, on pen drive, on all these instruments which store musics. Are we coming with that? The Honorable Minister should be clear. If we are coming, stand up and say it. Why don't we mention it now? We are voting the law. All the equipment which will be a source of revenue for the society, either it is listed or it is clear in the law. And the Honorable Minister has been quiet, and this was one of the recommendations of the high-powered committee. The Minister does not come with a detail of how we are going to collect money, because he doesn't want the public to know that there will be a levy on mobile phone, or the youngsters to know that there will be a levy on pen drive. But he put it in the bill. And come with a nice phrase, equitable distribution of income. So we should be clear. Because tomorrow, this board, the MASA, will not function if it's not explicit in the law how we are going to collect our revenue. And it has not been functioning in the past because this has been the dispute. When they want to put a levy on such institution, there is no mention in the law, and civil servants who are majority on the board goes according strictly to the law, and there is no way forward. And when we know when you are talking about equitable distribution, Let me refer to my APQ, which I put recently, last year. 30% of the revenue goes in administration. So 30% of revenues, of the money of our artists, goes only in administration. 7% goes to their fund pension, and only the rest is distributed. And what is worse, since the beginning of MAZA, each and every author, singer or artist, receives 68 cents per song aired on the radios or the TV. And it has remained 68 cents up to today. And when I ask the question, why has that remained 68 cents today? Because we are a minority on the board. This has been always the reply. And majority are civil servants and people nominated by the ministers. They don't want to take the actual decision to increase their fees. Another recommendation which the high-powered committee has insisted, that the IBA Act should be amended so that there should be a condition to each and every radio and our national television, if I can call it our national, your national television, to have at least a minimum percentage of local music that they have to play. In other countries, in France, I think it is around 40 to 60%, they have to play local music. Okay, I can understand 25 years ago, there was not so many artists, so we could not play 60% or 40% of our local music on our radios. But today, not only Sega, in all the communities now, we have local people singing. Bhojpuri, Tamil, Hindu, Telugu, even all. And they don't speak only with the Oriental language, with English, even in English and French. When you go to the hotel, when you see the local artists singing Mexican songs, Mauritian people, they have composed. And there's a group I know now, they are going to learn to sing Chinese, local Chinese songs when in hotel. But we have artists today. Why is it that the radio is still, there's no condition on the radio before we give them a license? There should be that condition. If we want our artists to earn what they deserve, to have a decent living, to have a decent pay for their work, but they have to play their music. Why? This was one of the recommendations. Why is it that we don't have it in our, this one condition in the license of our radios? 40 or 50% of your music should be by local people. No, it is not in the law. The question of the composition of the board is the one which the artist has publicly denounced. Okay, now we have had an amendment that there will be 7 and it will be distributed amongst the artist, the producer, the musician, etc. But when we look at the composition of the board, Honorable Minister, don't want us to believe that there is no senior civil service available. Okay. Honorable Chair, don't want us to believe that there is no senior civil servants who can sit on the board of MAZA. So MAZA is not of interest for the civil servants? MAZA is such This is the attitude we are taking today. When we know the previous board, with regards to each and every member from the civil service, they were not below the rank of Deputy Permanent Secretary. At the Attorney General Office, not below the rank of a Principal State Counsel. At the ministry responsible for industry and commerce, not below the rank of a deputy permanent secretary. At the custom department, not below the rank of the principal customs officers. At the industrial property office, not below the rank of the principal industrial property officer. So we have senior members because we wanted to give that Maza a professional standing. Now we have reduced the level to only a representative from my ministry, from the Ministry of responsible for finance, responsible ministry for the subject of industry, a representative from the Ministry of Communication and Technology, a representative from the Customs Department. So we are talking about any civil servant to be on that board. There are only two questions, two reasons for that, which people believe. Either we don't care about them, the civil servant is better, or we don't care about the Maza, we don't care about the artists, so we don't bother to send top officials who can advise them. Or, on the contrary, we send junior civil servants so that the government, and more especially the minister, may dictate, may manipulate. It is easier to give direction, and he will comply or she will comply if she is 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years in the civil service, than to give direction to a senior civil servant not below the rank of permanent secretary. And the reason put forward by the Honorable Mr. Mark, that they are so busy. So it's clear that this government wants to level down, is looking down on our artists and on that Maza institution. Now when it comes to the 7 members, I want the Honorable Minister to clarify matter. What is the eligibility? In the amendment bill, there's a rules for election. There's only one phrase for eligibility, and it is in the negative. No person shall be eligible to stand as candidate for election as a member of the board unless on nomination day he is a member of the society. This is what the law says. What we have to in the schedule. But when one looks at the rules for election of the Right Management Society Government Notice 121 of 2015. What does it mention about eligibility? This concerns the mode of the election, notice of election, etc. But when it comes to eligibility, a member is eligible, this is in the positive, to stand as candidate in any one of the categories A, B, and C, if any person who has been found guilty of the breach of copyright shall not be eligible for 5 years. It's okay. Members have to choose their own category, subscription fees have been paid, knowledge in management, copyright and related rights. So one have to be an expert, knowledge, to be a candidate. But what is worst, and this is revolting, when we are talking about having our Mauritian Creole teach at school, teach at university, we have a degree. The question is not why not here? But to be a member of that board, you have to be fluent in English and French. And you expect all the artists, our artists, to be fluent in English and French, and they have to be fluent in English and French to be on a board of Maza? A board which has got the mission of promoting our language, our culture, our artistic values. You have to be fluent in English and French to be a candidate. And you expect this to function, and you expect all members of MASA, all artists, to be able to participate in that society when you have already put a bar for them to participate. I know very good artists, my constituency. Excellent artists, whose songs are being translated, but they are not fluent in English and French. And these people won't be eligible to sit on this board. Now, let me come to the issue which the artists themselves has gone public and said they don't agree. And they are right to say so. When in all the international institutions, in all the countries, the developed countries, who recognize, genuinely recognize the value, the rights of their artists, their government is moving away from it. Slowly and slowly they are moving away. Like I said earlier, in many countries, like in France, it's a private organization. It's a private sector. It's for the artists, by the artists, run by the artists.
And the minister himself agreed with that.
And the minister mentioned that in 2014. And today, unfortunately, Madam Speaker, this government is taking a trend of having a mainmise on all the board or the council which each and every law we have voted has created. Let me list but a few. We voted the Mauritius Renewable Energy Agency Act of 2015. Here again, the minister has the power to direct the board. The Pharmacy Council Act of 2015. Here again, the minister has the power to direct, and they should abide by what the minister says. The National Women's Act of 2016. Again, the minister gave instruction and the board should abide. The National Wage Consultative Council Act of 2016. Again, the minister, there's a provision that the minister can direct the board and the board should abide. The Land Drainage Authority Act. In this one we have an authority. Again, the minister can direct the board and the authority should act. The last one, the Allied Health Professional Council Act of 2017. Again, the minister. So, well, why do we have all these board, dominate people on the board, give them the liberty to take decisions, but then it's the minister who will answer, who will decide. First of all, in this board, there are Chikopin. The removal of permanent secretary is to put, Chikopin in the ministry. And now, we are having the minister who personally can interfere, and it is most objectable. There is no other institution, copyright institution, where the minister gives instruction. And so tomorrow, let's say that the board, they managed to convince the board to tell the MBC to play 60% of local songs or films. Minister said, no, I don't agree. MBC is my property. I decide no. MBC is not going to give 60% of our local songs or films. If they decide, the board decide that as from now, for each songs, instead of 68 cents, it should be 1 rupee, 1 rupee 50, the minister come and say, no, it should be 25 cents. The board will have to agree. So the power we are giving the minister, unfortunately, Madam Speaker, we have known the first Maza. It has been a mess. We have known this one, the Rights Association, the actual one. Rights Management Society. It has not been able to function, and most of the artists have not been paid. I am afraid with this amendment, especially with the power given to the minister and the people we are going to name up the board because they are not qualified, there is no limitation to their qualification. Anybody can be a board. I doubt. I hope I'm wrong. We sincerely believe that our artists deserve much, much better. But unfortunately, this amendment does not go in that direction. I have done, Madam Speaker.
Yeah.